good?
Alrighty.
All right. So I'm waiting for people to come in. I guess you won't wait for people to come in. I guess we could wait for people to come in, or do you want to kind of just like start it now?
I'm well. I normally wait a little bit. Get a party in here.
Yeah, yeah. We'll just talk at random about stuff, and I'm sure people will come in. I also gotta share the stream as well, so I'm gonna try to share it
Oh
on.
yeah, let me do that there.
Yeah, I should have had everything set up ahead of time. We got two people watching.
I'm not able to monitor my voice, unfortunately, so it's up to chat to let me know how I sound on the stream.
Okay, so we're trying something different. I got my buddy Geekly on here, so if anyone's in the chat right now, let me know. Can you guys hear him? Is he good? If anyone's here right now, uh, thumbs up, thumbs down.
I'm speaking for audio testing purposes. Hello, hi.
Yeah, yeah.
Poop.
Okay, now,
Now.
yeah. Swing this over to my buddies over here. Uh, do that. Boom. Okay. And let's see. Sure, I'll go here. Like so I'm trying to we had like two people in, but I think they left.
They probably went to get like some popcorn, so they can so
Yeah.
they can come back.
Yeah,
Have a
yeah.
talk. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I guess now's the perfect time to ask.
Okay.
Uh, if you could have dinner with one singular character from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, who would it be and why? I know
That,
it's a riveting question.
that's a good question because there's so many Marvel characters that I would like to have dinner with. Uh I'm gonna go with Spidey. I'm gonna go with Spidey. Yeah,
Why that?
I think just kind of getting his an understanding of like how he's able to deal with so much and still come out strong in the end. Kind of understand like cuz for him great power means great responsibility, means differently for him. It
Yeah.
could mean differently for, anyone that you ask. But I guess for him like what would that underlying like theme for him be when it comes to that message, but also like I want to hear some stories from him. I feel like he would tell some very funny stories about some of the villains he's faced.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean, good answer. I guess, a lot more profound than mine.
Yeah.
So I would probably. This is so bad because you just said that super heroic answer. For me, it would be Okoye because I
Ooh.
think she just gives the vibe that she knows good eating spots. And I'm like, if I'm gonna live it up for a night, I want to be with somebody who I know has money and has good taste. And I feel like Okoye fits fits that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she doesn't want to eat dinner,
Yeah.
but I feel like she'd be out for it.
Understandable. Understandable. That's a choice that I haven't heard before. So it definitely adds to the conversation. I think the obvious
Right.
ones for people would have been like Spider-Man or like Iron Man or someone like that. Even though I'm not the biggest Iron Man fan. I've never really been besides the movies. I feel like the movies kind of helped. in my opinion, make him a somewhat like decent character. But I think as far as like him ever being a hero, I've never really been like an Iron Man fan, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So that's posted to Twitter there too. And we got three people in here. What's up? What's up?
How's it going? How we
How's it
doing?
going? Are we good? Can you guys hear Geekly? You guys hear him? I have him through
Just let me
my
know.
laptop, so that's kind of what we're doing right now. So if you guys, anyone can hear, thumbs up, thumbs down, let me know. I might try to play a little bit of the stream just to kind of hear and see if maybe, let's see.
Okay.
Okay. Just say something random.
Uh, randomness is the thing in life that brings us order. I don't know what that means, but it's something, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like I can hear you, so it sounds like we're good. So, I guess we'll go from there. We'll go from there.
Yeah, let's turn this stream into a yappy meal. Let's talk some Thunderbolts.
Let's do it. So, what's good, everybody? Welcome to the stream. We're here to talk about Thunderbolts as well as will Thunderbolts help Avengers Doomsday? That's definitely the big question on everyone's mind after what we just seen with the Thunderbolts, quote unquote, the new Avengers. So, yeah, Geekly, I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on the Thunderbolts. What did you think of the film? Did you think it was good? Did you not like it? Just kind of like your whole, just pick your brain about it, you know?
Yeah, no, coming out of the film, I want to say I gave it like an 8. Pretty sure I gave it an 8 out of 10. I thought it was really solid. Just so people know about my metric when it comes to films, I'm very much based on a healthy balance of what I feel as a moviegoer, on
Okay.
top of, I guess, the technicalities of what makes film good, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's always a balance for me. It's never just um, those metrics of what makes a quality film. And while on that side of the fence, I feel like this movie gets a lot of things right. So, of course, that's going to boost it a little bit for me. But the ultimate decision of what made me fall in love was the way that I felt coming out of it. Um, Not to get into anything too personal, but a lot of the themes that the film tackles resonated with me on a much deeper level than some of my peers. And even though they enjoyed the film, I think that I enjoyed it to a degree that I don't think they would be able to appreciate unless they went through something similar. And beyond just the multiversal, not even the multiversal, but I guess the cinematic universe implications moving forward, its other projects, and the representation of certain comic book characters being brought to life, I just feel at a base level how the film made me feel is something that I haven't felt from the MCU since what, Guardians 3, No Way Home,
Mm.
on the film side of things. So I feel like it's a nice return to form. It felt like a lot of people have been saying, it felt like the glory days quite a bit. And I'm a fan. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Quite a bit.
Awesome, awesome. I would say I'd have to echo a lot of what you said. I thought the movie was really good. I thought a lot of the messaging and story and thematics when it comes to just like mental health and stuff like that, I thought they did a really good job with portraying, this group of, villain characters that we've seen throughout Marvel through their TV shows and movies and things of that nature. Just kind of bringing them all in together for this one big movie. It kind of feels like it's one of those things where you don't expect it. Like I don't think anyone was expecting the Thunderbolts to be, this big of a film. This is literally an Avengers level film when you really think about it. It just kind of they undermined it as just it being the Thunderbolts. And I think that with, Sentry, Bob, aka Sentry, but with Sentry, I think there's so much more story to tell, especially when it comes to the mental side of these characters. And yeah, I really like the aspect of it. I thought some of the action was good. Uh, it just kind of made me wanting more. I think my only downside with the movie was that I wish we would have seen more of the Void. I wish we
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of would have been able to explore more of that with other characters, like Red Guardian, what would his
Yeah.
thing would
I
have
agree.
been,
I agree.
things like that. And I feel like if the movie had an extra 20 minutes, I think they would have explored that. I saw recently that in the one of the original drafts for the movie, they were going to do that. Like they were going to have each character go through their own void experience. So I think if they would have kept that, I think that would have been nice to see. But overall, I enjoyed the film. I think I gave it like a 9.5 out of 10. Like I really enjoyed it. I think for me it's up there as far as phase 4, 5, and 6. I think Guardians 3 obviously is up there. Deadpool, Wolverine's obviously up there. But this film, I feel like it surpassed Deadpool and Wolverine for me, just kind of based off of the
Same.
mental and story aspect, and especially where we're going further into Marvel and what we could see going forward.
Yeah. I fully agree. And it's funny because I just rewatched Deadpool and Wolverine like 2 nights ago.
Yeah,
I think it, yeah, last night I watched Far From Home. But
yeah,
I still feel greatly appreciative of the cinematic experience I got coming out of Deadpool and Wolverine.
yeah,
And
yeah,
funny enough, I felt like this is what my third time watching the movie. Um, First time since it was in theaters, and
yeah,
I felt like the narrative, the narrative arc that Wade and Logan go through in that film hold up a lot better this time around for me. I felt like it was a little shallow when I first saw it, but not to the film's detriment. I was just
yeah,
like, that was not the strongest part of the movie, but I'm glad that they made an attempt. And for whatever reason, this time it landed a lot more. But I can say that if you like the little nuggets of character work you got in Deadpool and Wolverine with those two characters on a personal level, Thunderbolts is that for pretty much its entire runtime. Therefore, I liked it more.
yeah, yeah,
Even if it's not like by a huge margin, I do prefer it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I the theme I've noticed throughout the projects, at least in the multiverse saga, is redemption. Redemption is a big arc I've noticed with, with Sam, trying to take on being Captain America, with Bucky trying to figure out his way in life, being a governor and that not really working out and now being a part of the new Avengers. You have new characters like Miss Marvel coming into the scene. She's on a mission to recruit some people for her Avengers team. We have Moon Knight. He's still kind of out there secluded on his own, but I think at some point we will see him interacting with other Marvel characters. I think that the issue I think is with some of the projects, I think the redemption for some of the characters just doesn't feel as fleshed out as I feel like, Thunderbolts or, you know, Deadpool did, Deadpool Wolverine did. I think, and even Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I feel like there's a lot of fleshed out narratives in that film too. So I think that's this multiverse saga's biggest problem is I feel like we just haven't had enough time with these characters to really resonate with them on like a much deeper level. But I feel like with even with the short span of characters with Yelena and stuff, like we seen her in Black Widow and then we saw her in Hawkeye, things like that. But it's kind of like it just feels like the people involved with this film really took their time to write, like, do character study on these characters and say like we want to do a film on these these villains that who want to redeem themselves to be heroes and to kind of figure out where did they go from here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. it's funny you mention. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the first modern multiverse saga project that takes people from different properties and brings them together? Is this the first one?
I Yeah, I think so. I think this is the first time we've ever had like an ensemble cast of characters from different TV shows and films uh since Endgame. I don't think they've done that ever since then. I mean, we've
Yeah,
seen some
and
characters like appear here and there, but they're like small little cameos, but this is sort of like just a collection of characters we've seen before while also
yeah,
introducing Sentry as a new character, which I'm really looking forward to getting into Bob, because, uh, there's definitely some exciting things in the future with Sentry that I think we're going to see that we've only touched the surface of what Sentry can do.
right.
Yeah.
I think just to go back to the, I guess, the more ensemble nature of the film and introducing that concept again, I heard kind of similarly to what you just said. Like, since Endgame, we haven't seen something like that. I felt way more that it's more comparable to, how do I word this? Thunderbolts, to me, is the multiverse's saga, or the multiverse saga's equivalent to the first Avengers movie from 2012.
Mm, yeah.
The same film, or the same purpose that the 2012 Avengers film served for the Infinity Saga, I feel like Thunderbolts is doing for this. Because if you think about the sequels, Age of Ultron, Infinity War, Endgame, those build upon the team that first assembled in that first film. They're the one through line constant.
Mm-hmm.
And going into Doomsday, what is a team, an ensemble that's already aware of each other, that's going to build people around them? It has to be the Thunderbolts. So that's why I kind of think they're acting as this saga's 2012 team, that lineup, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And,
Yeah.
and even with some of the parallels in the movie feels like Avengers as well. Like there's a scene in, towards the third act of the film where you see all the, characters kind of come together and it feels like
Right.
that circle of the Avengers, that
Yeah.
iconic shot. It definitely felt like that. So even then, it's kind of like I see this as like an Avengers, like they're treating this as an Avengers type film, but also downplaying that it is, you know?
Which is smart.
Yeah,
Because
really
it
smart.
ties into the themes. Like, you're not supposed to expect much from this team looking at who it's made up of narratively.
Yeah.
Even the people in the universe address that, and by mirroring that narrative in reality, people walking into the theater with apprehension about these characters from projects, some that were not even that favorable, like Ant-Man and the Wasp, but coming out with that sense of wonder that you almost felt back in 2012, except this time you didn't go in purchasing a ticket like this is about to be a game changer. It's like, I hope I get my money's worth out of this.
Yeah.
And the real world emotional attachment and roller coaster and outcome that you get is the same thing that I feel every man in the MCU would feel looking outside of their window and seeing everything happening with the Thunderbolts would play out. It's kind of genius
Yeah.
the way that that worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to ask you because, I always love to ask people about the theater experience. So I
Right.
want to, okay.
Um. So, oh, sorry, just to get it right. So you're asking me what the theater experience was like with the film?
Yeah, yeah. What was it like? Were people cheering? Were people clapping? Were people hyped?
Yeah.
Like,
So funny thing, and I saw this as a what you would call it, kind of a reoccurring situation
mm-hmm.
where the theater wasn't really too packed. I saw
Okay.
it um, opening weekend. I didn't see it the night of release, but it wasn't the crowd you would assume to be there for a launch for a new Marvel film.
Yeah.
But the people that were in attendance did react quite a bit. Like
Yeah.
the third act in particular got some gasps, got some laughs, and it definitely got an emotional reaction out of at least the people on my row.
Yeah.
The conclusion of that third act. So while I feel like, for me, it was disappointing that there weren't as many people as I would have liked to have seen the film with, which
Yeah.
I think will be remedied by second week due to the whole rebranding.
Oh yeah.
The crowd that I did see it with was receptive, and I feel like that's a good sign.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I definitely think like second week. I think they said there was like an increase the second week for the film, from what I've heard, which is good.
Well, there you go.
That's really
Yeah.
good. So them doing that reveal towards, the beginning of the week, I think really helped because now they're like, wait a minute, New Avengers? Wait a minute, this is a New Avengers film? I didn't know that. When was that
Yeah.
coming out? So I thought that was clever marketing on their behalf. I'll give you a bit of my theater experience. My theater wasn't really packed. I think everybody was going to see Sinners.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Sinners is, as much as I love Thunderbolts, Sinners is my movie so
yeah.
far of the year.
Yeah, yeah, but people were lined up for Sinners. Me and my
Right.
friends, I had a good group of friends. We went to go see it, and yeah, it was packed with Sinners. And then, like I said, we went to see Thunderbolts. We went in there. There wasn't really there. The seats were there were some seats, but it wasn't like a packed theater. So
Yeah.
you know, our theater reaction was kind of like there were some laughs, there were some cheers, but I think towards the end, now there were some people that left before the post credit scene. I was like, have y'all
We are
have
well
y'all
over
not
a decade
have
that
y'all
far
not
in.
learned like this is Marvel we're talking about. Like you got to
We're
stay
like,
for the
learn
post credit
something
scene.
now and Dawn. Learn,
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah. I guess some people are kind of feeling like, okay, I stay for these post credit scenes and they usually mean nothing. But this
Right.
time, this one meant something. It means something big. So I was expecting people to stay. There were some people that stayed, like me and my friends, we stayed. But just some other people didn't. So when the ones that did stay, it was kind of like, oh, snap. When we saw what happened, when we saw who was coming, it was just like, okay, now I see where you're going with this now. Now I see where this is going to go. And yeah,
It was one of the first. What was it? Wasn't it directed by the Russos? That post-credit scene, or
yeah, it was directed by the Russos, and they actually
yeah.
filmed that like a month ago.
And we were talking about how visually it looks different from their previous work. Like the colors are crazy.
Yeah,
They're popping.
yeah, they are.
Is that any indication of how those movies are going to look visually, at least?
I think Fantastic Four is going to be a visually beautiful, visually
Oh
looking
yeah.
film. I think they're going to go all in on the retro 60s vibe, and I think they're going to do a lot of that. Because if you look at some of the 60s movies, some of them are can be quite colorful. And
Right.
so I think with that, I think they're gonna go all in on that. I think Doomsday, they may do like a mix of some areas might have the grayscale effect, and then some areas might have some colorful aspects to it, especially if you're introducing all these characters. You're introducing Fantastic Four, you're introducing X-Men, New Avengers team, the Avengers OG team, then you kind of have to do a lot of colorful things because there's so many different effects and powers from all these characters that they're gonna have to find a blend, to make sure it looks visually pleasing on screen. So
Right.
I think Thunderbolts does give us a good direction of what we could potentially see with not just the Marvel films and, the multiverse saga, but I think potentially with the mutant saga and supernatural aspects that we could see past Secret Wars as well.
Oh yeah. Especially given what was the recent talk about? I'm blanking on the director's name because I suck.
Oh,
Uh,
Jake Schreider.
yes, there we go. Him being in talks for the X-Men film.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all
Yeah.
for it. I think he did a good job with X-Men. I mean, with Thunderbolts already manifesting that. But as you can see, but like yeah, I think he did a good job with the Thunderbolts is like showing off the mental health aspect and kind of
Yeah.
giving a character, kind of giving each character like their own little mini story as well as the big overarching story. So I think that, with the X-Men characters being such a big pinnacle in Marvel history while also dealing with their own battles, uh, as well as the overarching battles that they deal with, I think he would do a good job balancing those.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It feels like so far every potential person that was lined up to direct that film has been a pretty solid choice.
Oh yeah.
So it does seem like, whether the rumors are true or not, they are doing their hardest to get it right. Uh, so we'll see where that goes. But just in terms of this movie in particular, I would love another one of these with this team. Like I don't want to be that person that's like, oh, don't change anything, don't change. But I do want one more film with this exact team, please.
I
Don't add anybody, don't take anybody away.
yeah.
Just this team. One more. That's it.
I think
Come on.
I personally I would like that too. And there was an untitled movie for February of next year. I don't know if they're gonna do anything with that slot now or not. It seems like it might be too late. But if they were gonna
Yeah.
do something with that slot, I would have been cool with them doing like another Young Avenger, not Young Avengers, but New Avengers movie. But maybe this time around, maybe there's a, I don't know, maybe you bring back Kang somehow and have them defeat Kang or something like that before Doomsday. I don't know what they would be able to do, but just something to kind of give like the new Avengers, even like a real serious threat to deal with since they know that, there is some kind of space crisis going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you brought up a good point. I have they kind of. Do you think that the MCU has done enough to kind of back away the Kang storyline, or do you feel like there are a few loose ends that need to be, you know?
I think there's I think there's a lot of loose ends with the Kang stuff because, you set him up in Loki season 1, you set him up in Quantumania, which granted, Kang, people were saying Kang was the best part of that film. People were
Yeah.
saying that. So it's not on Kang, the character. I just think that, for one, my biggest issue is having him lose to Ant-Man in the movie. That was the big mistake right there. Like he should have won that battle because you're trying to set him up as a big threat. So he needs to win some battles. And so they bring him back for Loki season 2. He's Victor Timely. It's like, okay, Victor Timely. Let's see where we go with that. Even in the post-credit scene for Quantumania, you introduce all these variants and versions of Kang. You have Ramatut. You have just a ton of different variants and versions. And what are you gonna do? You're gonna say like, oh yeah, the TVA, yeah, they went and took down all the Kang variants. We saw with the end of season 2. Mobius said in reference, oh yeah, we gotta take down the Prime Kang, and we saw the picture of him. So I guess that's their way of saying like, hey, we dealt with all the Kangs, but I still feel like that wouldn't be serviceable enough, especially with how you started this saga off with Kang, only to kind of just completely just act like he doesn't exist anymore. I'm not buying it, you know?
No, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, it's just a mess. It's a mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know how you would go about it. Like, do you revisit it later? I don't know. I really don't know at this point. And moving over into Doom, that's another hurdle of it. Like, say we are done with Kang, how do we transition to a new big bad?
Yeah.
How is that? The only way, which still would be a little contrived,
Yeah.
is you open Doomsday with like Doom off screen strangling Kang to death. He's like, I'm here. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, sort of like a
I don't know what to do.
Thanos and Loki type thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they could do that, and I guess that would make sense. I'm hearing a lot of theories. People are saying like Doom might be on the Fantastic Four ship. That was a theory I've
Hmm.
been hearing. Uh,
That could be.
yeah, I really don't know as far as like how they could do this. I mean, they could have Doom, you know, act like Tony Stark. He's like, oh, Tony Stark isn't dead. He's like alive. Like he's right here. And maybe that could be their way to kind of trick, the Avengers into thinking like, "Oh, we have our Tony back." I don't know how, but we have our Tony back. And he could maybe
Yeah.
try to play into that until we see, like, obviously we know that's not our Tony Stark. Our Tony Stark is dead, but to them, in a desperate action of maybe the group just in general feeling like they feel lost without Tony, that that's he can use that to his advantage and manipulate that situation into him gaining the power that he needs to become, whether it's God Emperor Doom or, something like that. I think that's probably what they'll do. They'll probably hit more on the emotional aspect of, these characters kind of coming to terms with Tony Stark even after all these years. Things just haven't felt the same without him.
I saw that on the big screen as you were speaking.
Yeah,
I'm getting a little locked in.
yeah.
Um, and it reminded me of something that I wanted to bring up, actually.
Okay.
Oh, God, what was it? Brain, don't do this to me now. Oh, yeah, yeah, okay. So, I don't know, this is kind of pivoting off of Thunderbolts, but, we have Doomsday in the title, so we can talk about it.
Yeah, we can.
Um, the concept of anchor beings. We have to circle back to that. What role do
Mm.
you think that's going to play in Doomsday?
I believe that every universe has an anchor being. Obviously,
Yeah,
in Deadpool and Wolverine, Wolverine is the anchor being of his universe.
yeah,
Without him, the universe kind of just dies off. So there's many different characters in the 616 timeline that could be the anchor being, but I think for me, my theory is that it's Doctor Strange. And
Okay.
the reason why I feel like it's Doctor Strange is because they can tie this all back to Infinity War. He was the
Yeah.
only one who knew the possibilities of the Avengers winning. There were only two possibilities. And I don't think without Doctor Strange, I don't think the Avengers win. I don't think they do because they needed that possibility. At least we could say, like, okay, we know there is a possibility of at least winning. We don't know if we're going to win, but we know there are two possibilities where we can win. And I think with that, Doctor Strange has been messing with the multiverse even then, because how would you even know that? How would you even know that there were only two possibilities of the Avengers winning in the first place?
That's true.
Yeah. So I think either he's done some multiverse hopping even earlier then and we didn't know about it. Maybe they can tie this into even Dormammu, with that whole thing
Yep.
in his film. So for me, that's the reason why I think Doctor Strange is the anchor being. Even with What If, like if you look at the What If episodes, right? Doctor Strange is a constant. There's been evil Stranges, we've seen good Stranges, we've seen morally gray Stranges throughout this multiverse saga. So to me, it just only makes sense in my theory for it to be Doctor Strange. What do you think?
I've got a few ideas with Strange definitely being one of them. The
Okay.
most boring, to be honest. I'll get the most boring out of the way.
Okay.
Tony.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, Tony would kind of be the obvious one.
yeah.
And my brain goes to thinking back about all this talk about what the Russos coming out and saying Robert Downey Jr. is the only person who can play Doom for this story, right? And then
Yeah.
they came out around the time of what was the film called that they recently worked on?
I think it was Deadpool,
Electric
right?
State. Electric
Yeah,
State.
Electric State. That's the one. Yeah.
So they mentioned in an interview for that Iron Man / Tony's death will have some implications or some relevance to the existence of this Doom.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, the only thing I can think of with them introducing a concept like anchor beings and that having some bearing on the future of the multiverse saga, which is going to conclude with these two films,
Yeah.
I feel like it'll be the boring answer of Tony being the anchor being. And I don't know if Doom, in being the hero of his own story, which is another thing that the Russos have stated will be the case, much like Thanos,
Yeah.
maybe he sees himself um, trying to replace Tony on Earth 616 to become its anchor being to save the destruction of that world in a way that Reed failed his, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Doom has some loose plot in First Steps that we don't know about where he has been speaking out against Reed's exploration of the multiverse or space that spoke back to him, however he worded that in the trailer.
Yeah.
And in the end, Doom was right because their world got destroyed. And in Doom's, I guess his mind, his act of heroism, by them fleeing to a world that's dying off next, which would be Earth 616 after the loss of its anchor being an endgame. I don't know if he steals the face of Stark or he already looks like him and he's like, oh, it has to work that way. But I know Doom is intelligent enough to know it can't be that simple. So I don't know, it's a little contrived, but maybe that has something to do with it. But my other idea of who the anchor being could be, and maybe this is bias and wishful thinking.
Yeah.
Peter Parker.
Hey.
I think it would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
To have Peter serve as an anchor being again, not just from, oh, I'm a Spider-Man fan and I want to see that because obviously that has something to do with it.
Yeah.
But Feige in the past has talked about Peter Parker's importance to the MCU. I think that we quickly forget just how much they were pushing for him to be the face back in Homecoming and Far From Home.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like, oh, who's gonna be the next Iron Man? What is he? Your ward and all that stuff. And I know ultimately the arc was for him to grow out of that.
Yeah.
But there was I know this is a deep cut. They did like a whole like special presentation for Homecoming on Disney Channel, like back in 2017.
Oh wow.
Where Feige cites Spider-Man as like the greatest and most important superhero of all time. And for Feige to say that is like he has to have some big plan for this character. And I think it would be kind of crazy if his absence in Doomsday ultimately leads to the team's failure, right? Maybe there's some big discovery at the end that Peter Parker has some importance to this narrative, which is how we get our low-level, street-level, brand-new day film with the post-credit scene being him being paid a visit by someone of importance, saying like, "Hey, you're the anchor being. Time to go back to your multiverse shenanigans or whatever." I don't know, but again, that's a little wishful thinking. Not too sure about that. I think I am leaning mostly on Tony Stark being the answer.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And you know what? To add to the Spider-Man thing, it could be Strange that could be, come out of a portal and say like, "Hey, we need you. I know I put that spell on you, but we need you." So there could be maybe the spell even gets broken, right? Like the spell that Doctor Strange put on him in No Way Home, right? Like that, I think that spell is gonna get broken at some point. So it would only make sense for Strange to probably break it just for this, and then it's kind of like we come back from Secret Wars, people remember who Peter Parker is again, and he'll have to learn how to deal with that in a new world. Because I think they're definitely going to do Battle World. Like we're definitely going to see Battle World. We could see that in Doomsday. We could see the construction of Battle World and the implications of that. I wish we had at least like a saga or like a phase where we could just explore battle worlds like a little bit
Yeah.
before we get into Secret Wars, but I understand for time constraints and just kind of like how they planned out this saga, it's going to be a little bit difficult for them to do it. I'd like even if they did like little shorts, right? Like just little shorts on Disney Plus, like 10, I don't know, 10 to 20 shorts of each character, during Battle World. What are they up to? What are they doing? Just kind of an idea. Like you have your Spider-Man over here, you have your X-Men over here, you have your Ghost Rider and Blade and all these characters over here. Just kind of something to give people like, okay, this is what's happening in Battle World. It isn't just a thing that just so happened because of Doom. Like there's leaning implications on each character that causes this all-out war going further into the saga.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree. It's kind of like the same thing of how everybody wanted to explore the 5-year blip,
Yeah.
right? Except this time I feel like it's going to be even harder because, like you said, the way that it was planned, or I guess the lack thereof being
Yeah.
planned,
Yeah.
um, kind of makes that somewhat difficult. Unless they decide to do some prequel storylines whenever we get into the Mutant Saga, if that's what's next, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be a cool concept. Also, before I forget, I just thought about this.
Yeah.
Back to Spider-Man. I know we're so far off Thunderbolts with this, but um, I don't know if you've seen this, but this makes me a little worried about the timeline order of these movies, and it's something that I didn't think about at all, and
Okay.
it's kind of scary. And it's
What's your thoughts?
specifically having to do with the Spider-Man character.
Okay.
If I'm getting my timeline correct, did No Way Home end in the year 2024?
Uh, that's a good question. I feel like it has to be some years after that. Like I feel like it has to have been some years after No Way Home. Let's see, when did No Way Home end in Marvel universe? So in the cinematic universe, it says that it ends in late 2024.
Late 2024. Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, let's think about Thunderbolts, right? It takes place during 2027. The post-credit scene is 2028, which means Doomsday takes place in 2028. If we're seeing Spider-Man in Secret Wars, he will have graduated college.
You know, you know what?
So that's like,
Yeah, that is definitely odd because it's definitely odd because yeah, he would graduate around that time. Like he would probably be working like at the Daily Bugle or something. I don't know. Like
something. Yeah,
yeah,
4
like
years would be over.
yeah. So that is interesting. How are they going to explain that? Because I mean,
Especially,
there's been casting for Brand New Day, and I heard they're casting teachers.
yeah, yeah.
So maybe he's a senior in college by that point.
Maybe. It just, I don't know. It kind of sucks we're not going to get a whole trilogy of him in college. Either maybe it'll be like the Tobey Maguire situation where, or I guess Andrew Garfield as well, where the first film it's high school,
Yeah,
then the next films they're going to college. Except this time it's from college to full blown adulthood.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Because I mean,
That's the
trying to
only solution.
yeah. It also depends on what major he went for too. Like, did he go for what? What kind of major did he go for? Because some majors could take up to like 8 years to complete. Depends
Yeah.
upon what job that he wants. So But would a scientist like if he did get a science degree, would it take that long? Let's see. How many years for
I
a
think like
science
it would still
degree?
average to be 4. Say he's just getting like his bachelor's or something.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it usually takes up to 4 years. So that is definitely a good question that you raise about all this.
It's our boy Spider-Man just keeps. they keep doing him wrong. This movie
Yeah,
should have been out by now,
yeah,
so we wouldn't have to have these issues. Come on.
yeah.
That would mean like if he stays in college, the only way that makes sense is if the whole trilogy takes place during the multiverse saga, even after Doomsday and Secret Wars are done.
yeah. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know how they're gonna explain that. I don't know how they're gonna explain that. I don't know anybody in chat that probably knows anything about it. I think Andy was here. I don't know if he's still here. What's up, Andy? But yeah.
Okay, I think I might have found a solution.
Okay.
Well, actually, never mind. I take it back. I was gonna say maybe with Battle World becoming a thing, school isn't as simple to go to, so they shut down everything. But
Yeah.
still, the issue is that by the time Battle World is formed, he will have graduated because that's a 4-year time gap before we even get to Battle World. So
Yeah.
he would have already had his time at school.
Hmm.
And then say you do work it around where Peter's doing like a longer, um, going for a degree that takes longer to get, or he goes for his master's or whatever. I don't think MJ would be doing the same thing. Like, are we just gonna
Yeah.
have films where he's going to college while MJ's in the workforce? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I
I
don't know.
I don't know. I don't know about that either. The only thing that I could see is that maybe he took like a year or two off of being in college. Maybe he just wanted to be Spider-Man full time, and maybe he
Yeah.
felt like, okay, I could try to be Spider-Man full time and see how this works. And then he realizes, okay, no, I can't be Spider-Man full time. I need a balance. So he's like, okay, I'm gonna go back to college. That's the only way I could see them explaining that. But even then, I would need some kind of explanation as to what what made him decide to just say, you know what, I'm gonna take a year or two off to just do Spider-Man, activities and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
It's these are the complications of a cinematic universe, my friends.
Yeah. Yeah, trying to piece all this together, the timeline, all that. Because even
And
like,
it's mostly the schooling thing that makes it the issue.
yeah, because if that's the case, like during the blip, like how would they explain that? Like, do kids just get held back? Do they just graduate and say like, we're gonna let you graduate because it was a act of, the universe. That's nothing we could control. Uh,
See, I think what was it with the blip? At least it was a bit more, while convenient. It was still explained away that all of Peter's friends got blipped
flipped away, yeah,
away at the same time, so they all got reinducted to the grade they were in when they left, which makes sense. A little convenient, but it makes sense.
yeah,
Here, there is no like universal catastrophic event that happens within the 4 years of Peter being at college that would explain away time displacement like that. Like they
yeah,
don't have the convenience of the snap this time.
yeah.
It's just poor planning,
It's
and that
definitely,
sucks.
yeah, it's definitely not the void because I mean the void only seemed like it was there for maybe like a few hours, maybe, and that a few hours that doesn't really do anything when it comes to that. So it couldn't be that either. Um,
Yeah,
so I don't know.
Oh my god, I'm so stupid. I was about to say there was a project that could work, but it's I've been watching a lot of TV this week. It
Yeah.
wasn't a Marvel show. I was thinking about Severance. That doesn't work. Never mind. I'm sorry.
You're good. You're good.
My
Yeah.
bad. My bad.
You're good. You're good. I mean, yeah, it's definitely something that
Maybe
you,
Peter and all of his buddies got pruned off screen. They got pruned by the TVA.
yeah, that could work too. I mean, I don't know. Like, there's so much explained that they would have to do with Brand New Day as a whole. Like, what's going on? Like, what happened during all that time, right? And even with like, for example, like the time skip, which I thought was a very bold thing for them to do the time skip. 14 months later, after the events of what happened. And so, even like with Sam's Avengers, right? It seems like Sam's Avengers have already been like assembled. Like they're already a team. So now the question is like, okay, who's gonna be on his team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's. I don't know. Okay, that's perfect. Since we have like, I'm assuming we're tapping out at the hour mark. If we have like a few more minutes, this beautifully circles it back to Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
What do you think about? I'm so glad we're able to talk about this. What do you think about the conflict between Sam and the new Avengers? Do you feel like that makes sense? Coming out of the theater, me and my friends were a little like, that feels weird. How did you take it?
I
I
have
need some more opinions on it.
I have two thoughts about maybe why there's some conflict between the two, and I don't even think it's really a I mean, one scenario is kind of like a big conflict thing they could do, but the other one is sort of like a just a more of a disagreement than kind of just anything else or just miscommunication from maybe both sides. So
Yeah.
one reason is that I feel like Sam might not be kin to the new Avengers being like a government funded group because I
Yeah.
feel like Sam is definitely against that. Like he wants the Avengers to be the Avengers. He doesn't feel like they need government like assistance and all that. So I think that that's probably going to be the issue. Maybe again some miscommunication, but I think also Sentry could also be the big problem too. Maybe he feels like Sentry is sort of like, hey, we don't know much about this guy. We don't know how powerful he can be. We don't know, he's literally like a weapon. Like we don't know how forceful he can be. So for Sam, he might be kind of a little turned off by the idea that the new Avengers have literally like a super weapon on their team. So he might feel some kind of way about that too.
Interesting.
And
Yeah.
I had this idea
Yeah.
in my stream the other night. I was like, if for the Fantastic Four, they could do like a post-credit scene where we kind of connect the one that we got for Thunderbolts and have the new Avengers meet the Fantastic Four. And they're kind of like, okay, who are you guys? Where did you come from? And then they could,
Right.
say like, we're the Fantastic Four, we're from another universe, we came here, and there's this big giant Galactus guy who's consuming the energy of universes. And the new Avengers could kind of be like, well, okay, well, we're kind of dealing with our own little space crisis. Does that have anything to do with you? So they could probably be kind of curious about as far as the whereabouts of the Fantastic Four, but also like why are they here? Like there's got to be a bigger reason as to why they're here. So I could see maybe that being a possibility. Um, and who knows? Maybe Sam kind of feels some kind of way even about that because it's like, well, dang, they we have all these resources to our disposal, but we couldn't track this, the Marvel's first family. coming onto the scene and they recruited them on their team. So maybe they
Yeah.
could do a thing where Sam's like, you know what? We're gonna get the X-Men on our team.
Hey,
So
that could be fire.
so I don't know if they're gonna do this, but I think
I
they
would
could
love.
do a Civil War. They could do another Civil War.
Yep.
Sam's Avengers and the X-Men versus the new Avengers and the Fantastic Four.
Well, again, if you think about that too, um, it does kind of work in the sense that they're trying to mirror the Infinity Saga because what was the big thing about Infinity War? It's that the team was kind of like broken into factions due to where they ended up at the end of Civil War. You
Mm-hmm.
had different factions of the Avengers. You had Cap and Falcon with Black Widow that teamed up with Vision and Scarlet Witch, and then they went to Wakanda with Black Panther and Hulk, and I'm sure there are a few more people I'm missing there. Groot, Thor, Winter Soldier, they all ended up there. And
Yeah.
you had on Titan the Guardians and Spider Man and Strange and Iron Man, like they were broken up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was all because some of them weren't on speaking terms because of Civil War. So maybe putting this wedge in there between them is the Russo's way of like, okay, narratively,
Yeah.
how are we going to balance all of these characters? Well, we could do the same conflict we did last time. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, I mean, if it ain't broke,
Yeah.
so that might be why. That would
Yeah.
make sense.
And then you just have Doom play both sides. You have him play both
Yeah,
sides, and then at the end, you reveal I'm the bad guy. I'm the guy who's controlling all this. You fighting you. This is all by me. This is all a part of the plan, and you fell for it. So that could be their way to just again show like, yeah, Doom. He's all about the psychological, emotional aspect. He wants to play into that as much as possible,
right.
and that could make him very different than Thanos because he's instead of him being more of like a yeah, fine, I'll do it myself kind of thing. He likes to play with people's emotions and he knows he can get the best of their emotions.
For sure.
Yeah.
Which is why, especially when they're going to do the whole playing off of the face of Tony with this Doom. That's why I thought the casting announcement of or the initial one at least, of no Mark Ruffalo, no Tom Holland. I'm thinking of the characters that are most integral
Yeah.
to Tony. Was Don Cheadle's name even on there? I don't think it was it?
No.
Yeah, so is that not odd that like Rhodey, Banner, and Peter, arguably three of the most influential, I guess, or three of the characters that are most tied and integrated into Tony's life aren't in Doomsday? Like that's kind
Yeah.
of it's a choice. It almost seems deliberate, and I
Yeah.
could be wrong, but I don't know.
It seems like
It's
it's
a
by
little weird.
design because they want to leave the shock of this potentially being like the Tony Stark face. I think they want to leave it for shock for the people closest to him because that's
Yeah,
going to be the emotional drive that drives them to Secret Wars, you know. So maybe Brand New Day is a post-credit scene where maybe Doom shows up at his door or wherever he is, right? And he takes
yeah,
off the mask and Peter's like, "Mr. Stark? Is that you?"
yeah.
And that leaves even more emotion because now he has to choose a side. Will he side with his mentor, quote unquote mentor, or will he learn from his past mistakes? And this could be a good commentary on what people have been saying about Tom Holland's Spider-Man, about him being the Iron Man Jr., right?
Yeah,
They could lean
yeah.
into that commentary of is he going to choose the side of his past mentor or is he going to go on his own path, you know? So that there's an emotional drive there that they could set up for Secret Wars right there.
And you know how you toy with that even more? Peter's emotions.
Mm-hmm.
What's the most iconic, or one of the most iconic covers to come out of Secret Wars?
It's him with the
It's the cover with the
symbiote.
black suit.
Yeah.
Yep. So having that being an extra mental roadblock for him to make those clear decisions, it's the writing's on the wall.
Yeah.
Use it,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah. I mean,
Please.
yep, it's right there. Then you have them show up. Then Toby and Andrew are kind of like, wait a minute. You got to get that off you. You got to get that symbiote off you because I've been where you are. And maybe they can tease Andrew saying, yeah, I've been there too, and it wasn't good. So that kind of lets people know, like, hey, even Andrew has had his own symbiote arc. Because I'm sure
Yeah.
with Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man 3, that's what we were probably going to get, but unfortunately didn't happen. So that could be their way to tie that story even more and kind of just be like, hey, we know how this ends, and it doesn't end well. So we advise you to just take it off. Obviously, Tom's not going to listen, so that builds conflict with them now.
Yeah. We should be in the writer's room, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
Get us in there.
yeah. So there's definitely going to be a lot of inner conflict between each group because they need to figure out how to work together. They're not going to know how to work together with egos, with power sets, with the history, legacy, dynamic of these characters from each different universe. Each universe is going to feel like they need to handle it a certain way instead of working together. So they need to figure out how to work together collectively for them to additionally beat Doom in the end.
Right. Man. Well, I mean, I guess we just have a year to see how it all starts to end.
Yeah.
And I've got some pretty high hopes coming off the heels of Thunderbolts, and hopefully that trend continues going into first steps. Because I cannot take another Fantastic Four heartbreak.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't think any of us can.
No.
So
They got to do Fantastic Four with justice, and from the trailer so far, I have a good feeling that this is gonna be the Fantastic Four movie that we've needed since the beginning. I have that feeling. Kevin Feige has said, Fantastic Four, X-Men, those are his babies. He will treat them. He wants to treat them like the gods of the universe. So with that in mind, I feel like he would want to do everything in his power to make sure that the Fantastic Four, and when we eventually get to X-Men, and probably even in this movie itself with the legacy X-Men characters that we're going to see, I feel like we're going to see a lot of what he wanted to do when he was on the set of the X-Men films 20 some years ago, which is insane that the guy who was head over Marvel started out on just the X-Men film, just as an executive producer. It's insane. And I'm pretty sure looking back for him, there was a lot of things that he wanted to do with certain characters with the X-Men that he just didn't have any power or any say in at that time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, one second. I guess before we wrap up here, I do kind of want to address this comment.
Okay.
It says Thunderbolts breaks MCU power scaling. All of the Thunderbolts except Taskmaster survive attacks from Sentry, who is as strong as comic Superman physically. I gave up on MCU power scaling a long time ago. It's a nothing burger to me. I would say go back and watch Infinity War. There
Yeah.
are a lot of power scaling issues in that movie, and I don't care
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah.
But then again, I do know that there are some people who power scaling is a super important aspect to these films for them.
Yeah.
For me personally, though, it doesn't really matter. Just
Yeah.
because I don't think the MCU has ever gone out of its way to make that a super consistent part of its narrative.
Yeah.
Unless it's just like glaringly stupid, I don't. It doesn't really bother me too much.
Yeah, yeah, that's understandable. I'm just now seeing the comments. I didn't see them on my phone, so I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. You guys were saying things, and I didn't even see them. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna say hey to everybody. What's up, Andy? What's up? I see you, Geekly. I see you in here. What's up, Carson? What's up, man? 3 years straight Avengers movies is dope. Yeah, man. I mean, two. Well, technically three. We got three. Solomon, what's up, man? Carter, what's up? Anthony, what's up, man? How you doing, by the way? Saw Thunderbolts. It was awesome. Hey, man, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope you're still in the stream. Yeah, to answer your question, Thomas, yeah, there's a lot of just power scaling issues with this universe. It's like, okay, how is this character more powerful than this character? How is that character more powerful or less powerful than that character? It's really weird. It's really weird.
Yeah, it's the whole statement that Stanley made a while ago. Which character would win in a comic is all dependent on who that writer wants to win.
Yeah. That's ultimately what it decides with. I mean, you can't argue with Stan there, Stan the man. So I guess, yeah, that's what we'll have to take it as. He said, "What's up? It took 20 years to get comic accurate X-Men on screen." Yeah, yeah. And at that time, Bryan Singer, he was all about the Matrix being like a big film at the time. But I was like, I get it, but it's like these characters are so iconic. You know what I mean? Like they're so iconic. Why would you not want Cyclops in the blue outfit? Why would you not want Wolverine in the yellow and blue and Jean Grey with the hair tied, the ponytail and stuff that we see in X-Men 97. Like those are the characters that people know and love. So why did it take us this long to get that? No idea. But I guess again that's just a testament to Kevin Feige only having little say on those X-Men films, that I feel like personally, if he had more say, we would have gotten those comic accurate outfits. We would have gotten more, I feel like, comic book style type movies like that. But I think now more than ever, with Kevin Feige taking over, we saw with Deadpool Wolverine what he wanted to do. He wanted Wolverine to have the iconic outfit. He wanted, you know, Gambit, not long hair Gambit that we got from the past movies, but the slick hair Gambit with the trench coat and pink body armor he has on. Like that's what he wanted. He wanted that. So with these Avengers films, I feel like we're going to see James Marsden in the iconic Cyclops outfit. We're going to see, Nightcrawler with probably a little bit more of a comic accurate look, and probably even how he moves too. Though I never had any issue with how he moved in those films. Like I thought Nightcrawler in those movies was one of the better characters, one of the best characters from that era of the X-Men. Like he was just really fun. So I hope they don't do too much, because I think with the charm they had with that, I think is good enough, but just updating it a little bit. You said I'm saying about the power scaling stuff because people are doing MCU characters versus other characters like Spider-Man, Battle Royale. Yeah, yeah. I understand. Like I said, I wish Marvel would do like a power scaling book, like for like the MCU, like so we could get an understanding as far as like how powerful are these characters as a whole. You know, um, that's definitely something they should do. I don't know why they haven't done anything like that. It would definitely help people. Do you see Captain Hydra in Doomsday? Do you see that?
Oh yeah. I don't know when the so-called report about Chris Evans coming back was first circulating. I was like, maybe that's how you do that. I don't know. I guess where I am right now, the last thing I want is for this film to become OG Avengers cast, but they're evil.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's not the route they take, because that, well, could be cool conceptually, I guess.
Yeah.
It also
Uh-oh.
is the kind of cheap route.
Yeah.
But then again, if the execution is right, if the vision is right, and there's a story to tell that resonates with me, then let's see what they do with that concept. But as it stands now, I'm not too confident we'll see that, but never say never.
Yeah. I did hear about that report too, and kind of when they casted him, I heard I that was like I ultimately thought like, are they doing Captain Hydra? But then they had like a report, some report was out there saying that he could play Nomad, which is like a Captain America, he's like an adversary to Captain America. So that could also be who he's playing. Or he could just be playing another version of Johnny Storm. We'll find out. We'll find out. It'd be funny. It'd be funny if
What's
he
that?
he was actually playing a version of Iron Man. That'd actually be kind
For
of
a
funny.
satire?
Yeah, that would be something completely different than what people were expecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many possibilities.
Yeah.
With the multiverse.
Yeah, it's a big wide multiverse out there, and we could see anything, really. Like seriously, like we could literally see anything. I think with Endgame it kind of broke that barrier a little bit of, seeing obscure characters like Howard the Duck and things like that. And I've been hearing
Yeah.
reports of, and I've been hearing reports of, Marvel considering maybe mixing animation and live action characters into
Yeah, I saw
Secret
that.
Wars as well, which would be really dope because imagine the X-Men 97 team
Right.
alongside the live action Legacy X-Men team. That would be dope. Like that would be
Yeah.
dope to see that. Imagine your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man and maybe 90s Spider-Man. Maybe he's out there somewhere swinging about helping. The possibilities are endless. It's endless.
I even saw reports about maybe that's how they tie in Spider Verse. I don't want them to because I feel like we don't need the MCU baggage on an almost perfect trilogy to possibly
Yeah.
include, but you know,
I
people are
agree. I agree. I like the Spider-Verse movies for what they are. I don't think they need to connect with other things. I'm sure there'll be references to other things. I mean, we got references to some MCU things in,
yeah, Donald Glover.
across, Donald Glover, that Doctor Strange on Planet 1999 or,
Oh, yeah, that's
things like that. So we'll get little references here and there, but I don't think Beyond the Spider-Verse needs to go too far in because I feel like even with Spider-Man 2, like the game, we literally had a mission where you collect all the spider bots
yeah.
and you
Well,
see
hmm, now that you mention that, it's like, but what is the implication?
that is
Into the
true.
Spider Verse, we're first now exploring or going into the multiverse concept for the first time. And across the Spider Verse is now that we're here, let's hop through universes and see what they entail. Beyond the Spider Verse sounds like bigger than just Spider Man.
Yeah,
like, so maybe I don't know.
maybe it does cuz but then we think about it like Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out like a month after Doomsday or maybe a month after Secret Wars, I believe.
Yeah, it's 27, so I think it would be with Secret Wars.
Unless the Spider-Verse is going to be the way to clean up the multiverse in general, so maybe it's up to the Spider-Verse team to kind of clean up the rest of the implications of the multiverse as a whole.
Right.
And then
That'd be
that's
great.
yeah. So maybe the spot because I mean the spot, right? Like do you think that's going to be the end of Spot?
And Beyond,
Yeah, do you think that's going to be the end of his character? Cuz I honestly feel
I
like it's
think
not going
it's,
to be.
I think it might be.
Okay.
Yeah, I see Beyond the Spider Verse being very definitive and having a sense of finality for a lot of the characters. I don't see a lot of loose ends being opened by the end of that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So,
Because I mean, I already did the interview with Jeff Tramiel, and I asked him, I was like,
so
hey,
jealous.
I was like, hey, if you want your Spider-Man and Doomsday, what would you think? And he mentioned Spider-Verse. I didn't even have any mention of it, but he said if he just so happened to pop up in the Spider-Verse film, he would be down. So I was like, you know what? Let's make it happen. I don't know how, but Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool. Do you think he would, kind of touching up on that, by the way, Carter asked the question, what do you think of your friendly versus Spider-Man? What's your thoughts on it?
Hmm. Well, funny you should ask. I actually have 4 videos reviewing every single episode.
Yeah,
Shameless plug to the YouTube channel. But to give a condensed version, I think that the trailers did not do the show justice,
I agree.
and it quite possibly stands as one of my favorite interpretations of the character in a decade, potentially.
I
That's
agree.
that's the condensed version of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I agree.
Really enjoyed it.
You know,
Yeah.
you know the story, you know about my journey with the show. I don't really have to go too far into all that. You guys know. If you know, you know. You've been here a while, you know. But I was definitely someone who was optimistic about the show. The trailer, I was very. I do agree. The trailers didn't do the show any justice. I feel like the trailers were very cut up in such a out of context way from every scene that it just kind of messed up the flow. But I was like, you know
Yeah.
what? Bad trailers don't always mean bad show. So I looked at it. I was like, you know what? I want to give the show a chance. I like the concept. I like the idea behind it. I'm glad I stuck to it though. I'm glad I stuck to it,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
because I really enjoy the show and I'm looking forward to season 2 and future seasons or whatever they want to do. I'm here for. I'm a fan.
Same here. Ditto.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, let's see. I'm trying to think. Is there any other questions? Well, I guess we could leave it off. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah.
Feel free to ask. But I guess we could pose this question because it is the title of the live stream. Do you
Yeah.
think Thunderbolts will help Avengers Doomsday as far as like progression goes with this saga? Do you think, as far as morality with where they're trying to go, do you think it's going to help Doomsday in any way?
Absolutely. I feel like it's going to give Doomsday a sense of cohesion that we haven't felt in a while. I feel as though it'll be the first team, like new team of people that already know each other and have worked together as a team going into this movie that
Mm,
will, like I said, kind of give the film a sense of familiarity. Because going into Doomsday with the impression that, oh, this is going to be a film where all the new characters meet the OGs for the first time, plus they have to fight Doom, plus they have to explore the multiverse, plus this, that, and the third.
yeah,
I was very worried because there is no OG Guardians team, even at least to be our lens into the new world of the MCU. But
yeah,
now that we have the Thunderbolts kind of leading us in, not only do we have the OG characters that have worked together before, but now we have a team of the new people too. So I
yeah,
feel like they're going to eliminate a huge issue I had going into it to begin with. So yeah, I think their inclusion is definitely necessary and is going to benefit the film by the end greatly.
yeah. And you
Yeah.
you bring up a good point because again, all these characters for the most part, besides Bucky, we've been introduced to in the multiverse saga. So with that in mind, it kind of does do a great justice to these characters to kind of say like, you know what, we've been introduced to you guys throughout this saga. Why not just have you guys team up? It only makes sense,
Yeah.
right? So through that aspect and lenses of it, I definitely see that this film does help Doomsday. And Carter even said it here in the chat, like he feels like it'll help Doomsday as well. I have a good feeling it will. I think Fantastic Four is going to help elevate Thunderbolts as well as Doomsday even more than it already has, knowing what we know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, anything like that, feel free to ask. You free? You got a little bit of time?
You asking me or the?
Yeah. Are you free? You got a little bit of time?
Yeah, I've got maybe 3-ish minutes left. I have another thing I gotta run and do. But I don't want to bail on the people in chat. You know? I feel like
Gotcha.
it's your
Gotcha.
so,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Understandable. If you do, we can end it here. I think this has been a really good stream. I hope all of you watching, I hope you guys enjoy the stream and kind of just hearing like two different aspects and kind of just putting our heads together about Thunderbolts, Doomsday, Fantastic Four, Brand New Day, all that stuff, because we got a lot of those upcoming projects. And I know that's been a lot of big thoughts for you guys as well as our thoughts as well. So we kind of just wanted to discuss it in a manner that I guess would be interesting. This has definitely been interesting for me. I'm sure it's probably been interesting for you as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, if that is all, if there are no more questions, which I don't think there is, if so, would you like to let the people know where they can find you?
Yeah. You're mostly gonna find me on YouTube, doing my thing at Geekly Official. YouTube channel's just called Geekly. I've got some videos cooking up right now, so it's gonna be a little bit before they're actually ready to be viewed. But I am streaming here and there in the meantime until those videos are ready to pop out the oven. And yeah.
All right, awesome. Definitely go check out his page. I'll have all of his page. I'll have his YouTube page linked down below, as well as if you want to check out the tag right here as well, you can check out his channel from there. It's been a
Oh,
pleasure.
I'm sorry.
You have
Also,
something?
second channel, it's Geeks, and gaming channel, Geekly Games. I have a lot of channels. Okay, sorry. Do your thing. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, no, no. You're good. You're good. Good. I will make sure to link all the channels down below so you can check out. Geekly's a awesome guy. Been wanting to collab with him for a while now, so it's been a pleasure being able to collab with you. And this definitely won't be the last time. We'll definitely
Oh,
try to do
yep.
this for some other things. If you want to maybe come back for Fantastic Four, or maybe even something else earlier than that, that would be dope to have you on.
Anytime, man.
Yeah,
That
man.
would be awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, with that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning into the stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have not, definitely go check out my reaction to Peacemaker season 2. We got a teaser today. Pretty dope reaction. But yeah, with that, I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. As I always say, big love to you all and peace out.